Welcome to the 24K Life Podcast. I'm your host, Derick Gant. We love to bring you new, exciting individuals that will help you to grow your mindset, grow your habits, your tools, your goals, just knowing what other people are able to achieve, understanding what they know and applying it to your life is what we want you to do to elevate your 24K life. 24K life is all about how you can get rid of the things that are holding you down, holding you back, and keeping you in a limited mindset. Let's explore the possibility of being boundless. That's what we want to do in the 24K life. Hey, I wrote a book about how you can start your journey financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. If you know that you're stuck, let's not stay there. It's your job to elevate. Today, we have Aline Ra M, who is a spiritual teacher, spiritual guide, spiritual coach, and mentor. She's also an energy healer and an author. We can't wait to see what she has to say. Hey, it's Derick Gant. Don't forget to check out the 24K Life Code. This is the book that will guide you to get started. We wrote it so that you can understand how to get unstuck. There is no reason for you to wallow in mediocrity. The book's subtitle, The Only Difference Between Mediocrity and Greatness, and that's getting you to operate at a higher level just a little bit every day. Here we go. We'll be right back. Here's more with Aline Ra M. We have Aline Ra M, which is a very interesting name, and you have to tell us all about it here, who is a spiritual guide, coach, teacher, mentor, and author. So tell us about the book that you've authored.
Yeah, so hi, Derick. Really happy to be here today talking to you. The book is called Bullshit-Free Mindfulness. It is an uncommon guide for joy in everyday life. The idea behind it is to support people to find those moments of joy here now without going too much into theory and what should and what should not be, and more in the practical hands-on of living.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about the book, but tell us about your name. That is a very interesting name.
Yeah, so my given name is Aline Ra Müller, and I removed a few letters. That was actually something that came to me meditation. So I'm not a spiritual guide because I decided to. I've been on this path for a long time, and I actually received a message telling me I was a spiritual guide. And when I received this message, it was one of the most intense moments of my life. It was like receiving a 10,000 page book in one single second, like just having read everything like that. And one of the many things that it said was that I needed to remove the letters in my name that were not in the right energy that I came here to bring. So instead of Raul, it became Ra, which is connected to Ra, the god of the sun, Egyptian god.
Okay.
And Müller became just the M. And M in itself is the symbol of water. If you see the history of the letters, how each letter came to be, M actually represents waves in the ocean.
Okay.
So it's bringing this energy of fire and water together, feminine and masculine, as many different ways that we can see it, yin and yang, active and receptive, together.
Excellent.
In union. Yeah.
So how old were you and what phase in your life, more specifically, were you when you got this 10,000 page download?
I was already in my early 30s. I've been on the spiritual path since I was 14, and I never thought I was going to work with it. For me, it was a side thing. I was just doing my own spiritual path, I went to business school. I worked with business development for many, many years in many different industries. So it was actually been a shock for me to get the message telling me, okay, you are a spiritual guide. This is what you do. This is how you do it. I mean, I just literally received everything.
So you were in your 30s, meaning that you were well into your business career, post higher education, your doing white collar work, and you're in it, and all of a sudden you get this huge download. Now, it wasn't like a scary thing for you because you said that you were doing this since you were 14. So you were not shocked, I'm assuming.
Well, I was shocked to be said that I was a spiritual guide. I was not really prepared for that. I wasn't ready to take responsibility for other people in that sense. It was really just about my own well-being before, it was just me, myself, and I in my meditation cushion. For me, hearing a spiritual guide, it felt very strong.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, who the hell am I to call myself that? Like, all my friends are going to laugh at me. It's just like, I'm just this girl. And this part about self-criticism and judgment came very strong. I had to work a lot on that. It took me 6 months after receiving that message to be able to stand in the world at calling myself that. So I
Wow.
had to work a lot on my own
So
self-worth, so to say.
absolutely. So you get this calling, and do you retain? I have so many questions. Do you retain the full download? I mean, can you recall? Is it gave it to you, but do you retain it?
Yeah, most of it. Yeah, it was really sharp. It was. I cannot even explain it. It was just given in an embodied level. It was like, this is. It said everything. It said, like, from like changing your name, the method, what matters, what doesn't, the colors, like the point of everything that I was supposed to do. So
So then you took 6 months to be able to stand in it. Um, do you feel at that point, at that moment, or did it take 6 months for you to feel like a spiritual teacher, or was that instantly? It just took you a little while to figure out how to stand in it.
it took me 6 months to have the courage to stand in it in public and say it to everybody, and stand in my strength, knowing that this is who I really am.
Mhm.
So without me judging myself or caring what other people would say, to get to that point that it doesn't matter what anybody says. It's that this is who I am, and that's it.
So do you do both things? Do you do like corporate America work, or not America? I'm sorry, you're in Brazil. Do you do like
Yeah.
corporate work, or do you do just spiritual work?
I do just spiritual work.
And how
At
long did
this,
that take?
well, when I got the message, I had already left my job. I
Oh,
was in a
really?
I was in a period of a sabbatical. I took 1 year gap. Um, Actually, I was living in Sweden at that point. I am Brazilian, but I also lived in Sweden for a long time.
Okay.
So I took in Sweden is very common in a way to take a 1 year leave. All companies are obliged to give you that if you ask them that. So
Really?
it's also a cultural thing. And so I took the time to just reorganize a few things, because I had been changing jobs, but not really loving any job that I was taking. So I felt
Mhm.
like I need to take a step back to just, do I want to start my own business? I came from that mentality that I was taking a year gap, both to take care of myself, but also to start my own thing. That was kind of the idea. So it
Right.
was quite surprising when I got the message, because I was in like an incubator. I was starting like my own startup with sustainable vegan shoes and things like that. So I was in a quite different place.
I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know. I think that I can foresee in my small mind that because you were on sabbatical, because you were asking the universe what's next for me, because you were open to the potential of what could be next, that was the perfect time for it to download.
No, for sure, absolutely. It's just that we normally don't see that when it's happening, right? And when we look back, it's like, yeah, of course, it makes sense. It makes complete sense. But when we are in it, it's like, oh, okay, how are we going to do this then? And at the same time, I do love that I went to business school, and that I worked with
Mhm.
business development, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you work with. It doesn't matter if it's spirituality or not. You still have to make it work. You still have to create
Right.
good structures and processes to bring it all together. And in that sense, I do think the business development, it's a quite divine type of work. To just manifest your vision and make it real. And that's the work of God, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what did you do? You got the download, took you a little while to stand in it. what makes you, I mean, I know you got the download and you have the information, but what makes you a spiritual teacher, or what makes someone a spiritual teacher? Because we all are spiritual and we all
Yes,
reach out to help each other in certain ways, but
for
what
sure.
makes up a spiritual teacher?
So when I was having that 6 months of questioning myself and self-doubt, one message that Spirit kept sending me is to stop making a big deal out of it. Some people are mathematicians, like they teach math, other people teach physics, and other people teach history. So I was getting this clear message that stop making spiritual teaching such a big deal. It's another subject. There's so many subjects, and some people just know more of certain subjects than others. And what they were telling me, it's mostly you were ready to teach this. You know what you need to teach because you have
Right,
studied on your own so for so long. You are ready to start sharing what you know, and it's so much about that, right? Like how much we know, but not only there's a difference in terms of, in that case, spirituality as you call, and other topics, because if we see history, it is mostly knowledge, right? It's knowledge and the capacity to process information, and maybe like critical thinking as well, right? Like what is
right,
most important here, how things actually affect each other. In spirituality, there's an extra layer there that is an understanding, that is the embodiment. We don't want to just share pieces of information. That is actually one of the problems that we have as humans. Sometimes we know things too much, but we don't embody that. We don't actually change how we live. And that is a critical aspect of spiritual development. It's not only about reading a book, it's about living the message and changing how we relate to others, how we relate to ourselves, and how we clear ourselves so we can start having this higher connection. So it's the actually living and understanding certain things that are not in books.
right.
Um, in
No,
also in the sense that we're dealing with something that is invisible in a way, right?
right,
And there's an importance here of not being naive, that there's so many different energies in place, like as above so below. Just like we have issues and shadows in life, the same thing happens in the spirituality. And I think this is something that I understand pretty well as an energy healer. I take a lot of, I would say, darkness, or like entities and emotional cord cutting, taking things out of people as well. This understanding that not everything is love and light. So
right.
that requires a deeper understanding of the spiritual realm.
So, do you have like, is it layered? Do you have a spiritual teacher that you can go to, that you talk to?
I have a few people that I go for different things. I don't
Mhm.
have like just one main teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need a variety of teachers and probably a variety of areas, even including spirituality.
Yeah, I mean, the spiritual realm has so many different things, and it's really difficult to find a person that masters everything. Normally, it is. I have some teachers that I go more towards energy work and healing, others that I go towards magic work. So there's quite a few different things that we can go, depending on our own interest, right? So.
Right. So do you I know these are weird. It's not all of them. I know some of these questions might be strange, or you might think that I'm being weird, and I'm really not. I really want to know. Do
Mhm.
you like know everything? And I don't mean everything isn't everything. I mean, like, do you know there's like heaven? Do you know where people go when they die? I mean, being a spiritual teacher and getting this download and basically having your eyes opened up in a certain way, do you know those things? Do you not practice, but do you talk about those things in your spiritual practice?
Well, the more we know, the more we realize that we don't know, because the questions just
Absolutely.
keep getting more complicated and complex. So
Right.
it's every question you get answered, it's five new questions that emerged, if not 10. So
Right.
I feel like a part of this path is to make peace that it's an infinite journey and there is no end and there is no knowing everything.
Mhm.
There's
Well,
just
not
like we just keep.
everything. Do you know the big questions like, do ghosts really exist? Those type of questions.
I know quite a few questions, but if I know those questions out of my own experience,
Okay.
the ones that I know, and it's it's these things are not things that we just share because they're not supposed to be treated just as knowledge. It's things that we know. If we know something, it's because we kind of need to know for something that we're going through.
Okay.
And we get to know the answer through our own experience and connection to the
All
divine.
right. Yeah. All
And
right. You don't
so,
want to answer. You don't want to. Can you answer this one? Do we all have like, I've been told and I think when we talked very briefly when we first talked about doing a interview, I think I told you I had a spiritual coach and we were together for 6 to 8 months. I don't remember, somewhere around there. It was a great experience. But she was telling me that we all have guides. So do we all have guides?
yes, we all
Okay.
have guides. We all
We
have
all
guides.
have guides. All
Yes.
right. Thank you. All right. So, she had me go through a practice of asking. She says the guides um, they don't really have names, but they'll let you name them or they'll reveal a name just because it makes us as humans feel better because things have names. Um, but
Everything has names.
yeah, so I was
Everything
never,
has
yeah,
names.
I couldn't get there. And I don't know why, because I'm open and maybe I'm not as open as I think I am, but I wanted to know like, who are my guides? Do we have animal guides too, or just like angelic guides?
Mm,
Mm,
your guides can take on different shapes, but it doesn't mean that they have that shape. It is
gotcha.
about a way of communication with you that will support you in an understanding of their energy.
Okay.
But everything in this reality has names. Everything is names. Everything is sound. Sound is the origin of the energy. Even if you see in the Bible, like in the beginning, I might be saying wrong because I am not that used to speaking those things in English. But in the beginning, there was the word, and the word was sound. That is
Absolutely.
also a basic of sacred geometry, that the world is created based on sacred geometry, but sacred geometry is sound first. It's vibration. The vibration begins
Okay.
everything. And vibration itself, the sound, that is the name of everything. So if
I
even if
love
you
it.
see, yeah, and even if you see in the Bible, like God has multiple names.
Yes.
Everything has multiple names. So it's very difficult to consider anything without a name.
Right. I get it. I love it. I know and believe the sacred geometry. All you have to do is look at like the honeycomb, the bee's
Mhm.
honeycomb, and you can see that pattern in so many different plants and things and carbon and everything. So I believe that wholeheartedly. Um, what about like our auras? Can you see people's aura? You
It's
do
not.
not like these questions, do you? Like your face is like, oh
Well,
God, why is he going there?
Well, some people can do that naturally a lot better than me. That's not
Okay.
exactly my gift. I can see
Okay.
sometimes if I am to see it.
Mhm.
So the way that it works for me is more if I am supposed to help somebody, if I have a role to play, I will see it and I will know it right away. But
Really?
if I don't have a clear role to play, something I will not. So
So,
I think it also comes with this understanding that we kind of have contracts. Our purpose is a contract, like the thing that we said we would come here, and we also have contracts with each other, multiple contracts. And many times we're not even aware. Sometimes the contract we have with somebody is just to say hi on the street one day. It doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't much more than that. But sometimes the contracts can be a bit more, and then I normally get the information when with somebody. Yeah.
so I have a couple questions, and they're just going to keep coming. Let's go back a little bit to your comment about it's not just about reading the book; it's about practicing and implementing what
Yes.
you've read. Why do so many people not implement? They're just not ready. It's not their season. What? Why does that happen?
It's a mixture of factors. Many people resist change. I think we all know that. There are some changes that we're very eager to do, other changes that we resist a lot. So normally that is the first thing. It's the things that we need to change because Of course, we look at a positive transformation and we want that, right? We see the happier person, we want that. What we don't want is the sacrifices that requires, the things that we need to stop doing, the things that we are attached to, the bad habits. That's why it's not that we don't want change. Change is inevitable. What we don't want is the sacrifices that the change implies. So that is a point. It's still beautiful that we read, that we get the inspiration. I mean, reading has this role that it opens up a new door of possibility, that inspires us and make us dream. That is very
Right.
important. That is the beginning of the journey. But many of us just stay there. We don't actually cross and go through that door.
Right.
Another thing is that it's a game of the ego in a way, because we tell ourselves, because we've read it, we have done it. But that is it's just a way of the ego of playing with us. It's just playing games with us, telling, oh, but you've been reading so much about it, you've been talking so much about it, you've been thinking so much about it, you have started. And then we have this layer of protection of telling ourselves that. So yeah.
Well, that's so incredibly true. So what about being able to go deeper? So you've read something, um, you are open to change. What would you recommend someone do to go a little bit deeper?
So I would recommend to focus just on that, choose to do that. And what I mean by that is because we normally read too many articles, too many books, too many podcasts. It's too much. We're taking into much more than we can actually apply. And one way to start actually applying is to making a choice by saying no to other things. And like, this is what I'm prioritizing, just like in business, you cannot do everything at once. So focusing on one thing, choosing this is the transformation I want to go on now, and focusing on just doing that, having action plans, really just like a small list. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. The more overwhelming we make, the harder it's going to be for us to sustain it, because change has to be sustained.
Mhm.
So simplifying the process by choosing, like, this is the thing I'm doing. So I'm not going to get reading every other book at the same time and reading, like, just simplify it,
Right.
focus, and have action plans, because change is action. Change is not only thinking.
Right. So for those of you that are not watching but listening, you can go to Aline, Aline, Ra, RAM.com /spiritual growth. And it's going to help you figure out how to go a little bit deeper, just like she told us. So Aline, what about you mentioned you mentioned that when you're supposed to engage or interact or be in someone's life. I didn't say that exactly the way you said it, but that's what you said. So what happens? So you meet someone, do you wait for them to say, hey, I want to talk to you, or do you engage? I mean, you have this contract, so what do you
Yeah.
do when you run into them?
It depends. It's not always the same. Sometimes I get into a crowd and I know right away. I just look at the people and I know right away. And sometimes I need to go to the person, and sometimes not. I'm very in listening. So the spiritual guides and the different angels, so to speak, they are always around us. And what I have actually developed is just the ability to listen to them. So I'm pretty much just following them. Uh, so one thing about spiritual growth and like having my own like spiritual guidance, people think, okay, she has her own business, but I have very clear, I wouldn't say bosses, I have co-workers, like we're
Right,
all working together on this mission.
right.
And
Excellent.
they are guiding me. And sometimes I need to go and talk to people right away, and sometimes not. Sometimes I need to also understand that it takes two, and that the other person might not be ready for their contract, and we might need to meet a few more times. Not planned, but it's every situation is a different situation.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So,
Sometimes I know right away. Sometimes I am on the table for 30 minutes before one of them tells me, oh, by the way, this person needs that. So
uh,
it's really, it's every situation is a different situation.
okay. So tell us about your coaching practice. You work with people. Tell us, somebody goes to your website, we read your information, we like it, we reach out for a consultation.
Yes, discovery call is the first step.
Okay.
Be it for coaching or sometimes for healing sessions, it might be good as well
Okay.
to
Tell us
understand
about the
exactly
healing
what's
sessions.
happening. Yeah.
Tell us about the healing sessions.
Yeah, so healing sessions are single sessions where I work with the person's energy fields directly to even bring certain energies that are not there yet, maybe bring a stronger connection to a person's higher self, to bring a little bit more light. It depends. There are many different things. We can do sacred geometry sessions as well. We actually put sacred geometry in a person's fields to open to certain communications. It can get very advanced. That's why I'm saying like it's good to have a discovery call first to understand exactly what you need, because
Right.
there's so many possibilities.
Wow.
And sometimes it's just helping people to not feel so tired, to not
Okay.
have so much fatigue, to actually send them energy, to give them a boost and clear them. Yeah.
I like it. So on the discovery call, you can identify, because you have the ability to connect with the
Mm.
people that you're talking to. Do you do any work virtually, or is it all in person?
Coaching is all virtual.
Okay.
And healing, it depends on the healing. Some healings can be remote and some healings need to be in person. It depends on the kind of energy that we need to work with.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if I call you, you're in Brazil, I'm in United States, and I need an in-person um, healing
Mhm.
practice done, do you tell me what it is, and then I have to go find someone locally? Is that the way it works?
Well, first I travel a lot. You would be surprised by
Oh,
my schedule.
okay, I like that.
So I'm here now for the 2 weeks, and then I go to Canada for 2 weeks, and I go for London for 2 weeks. It's a little bit like my schedule is full on.
Okay.
But I do also know quite a few great healers. So if you need a healing that I cannot give you in person, I will see if I can find somebody nearby to put you in contact with.
Well, I love that. So let's just say that the world is just waking up. What do you want most people to know? Or do, because we talked about that. They might know something, but they don't know what to do.
To honor life, to love living, it's, I think, the most important thing. Like some people in the spiritual path get very into just meditation, they lock themselves in rooms and forget that we are each other's eyes, we are each other's mirrors, we're working and we're learning with each other. So the importance of being together for this path is much bigger than people think. We are on Earth. If we didn't need to come to Earth, we wouldn't come here. So honoring this experience of being fully alive, of enjoy living, of working with things that you love, of being together, supporting other people on their own journey, it's super important to just live.
Well, I love it. I'll take it. I will take it. I want to know, personally, selfishly, how does meditation, is that the way to hear your guides more clearly? I mean, I do meditate maybe like 20, 30 minutes every day.
Mm.
But how, for selfish reasons, how do I
Yeah.
best calm myself to hear better?
Meditation is super important. So it's great that you have a meditative practice.
Mhm.
Uh, if you want to listen to your guides, it's just the ability to listen in general, because what does it mean to even listen, right? It's not necessarily verbal. Sometimes it can be sensations. So in a way, it's almost learning to read the type of communication that they have. Sometimes things talk to us in symbols. So this presence is important. and
Okay.
and this presence of listening, it's not different from like talking to your best friend. You're giving the full attention, like your mind is not scattered in other places, and this is what
Right.
meditation is helping us with. So just training the ability to listen to whoever you are with, be 100% with them, training this capacity of being here now, focused, not dispersed, is the most essential, I would say, to start having these contacts.
Okay.
And with that, also being able to have moments of silence, even if it's not meditation, to not feel every 5 minutes with something. If you are in the supermarket, like in the queue, and you have 5 minutes to spare, can you like control yourself to not get your phone right away, to not start doing something right away? Because this ability to stay, to remain there in stillness
Right.
is the ability to start listening, because you're making a space to listen.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
is
what we
so
need to
true.
cultivate. Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. I've learned a lot. I feel that people that are new to spirituality, not religion, but spirituality, will get a lot out of how to start their spiritual practice. And if they're stuck or they have no clue, they know exactly who to reach out to.
Thank you so much, Derick. It was a pleasure talking to you. I
Thank you. It's a
really enjoyed our talk.
pleasure talking to you too. Man, what a great conversation. If you're stuck, if you're not feeling like you're in touch, in tune, if you're not getting that little voice that's guiding you on your path, then I really suggest that you reach out to Aline Ra M and at least explore the opportunities. Have a discovery call. It's free. I did this years ago because I had 50 years of religion, 50 years of structure. Now, there's some spirituality sprinkled in there, but I wanted to know more from a spiritual perspective. So I hired a coach before I met Aline, or I would have hired her. And my coach was amazing as well. And I learned so much about your breath work, about your energy zones, about your chakras, about all the things that we were born with. They get dulled down by all of the outside noise. I'm Derick Gant. I want you to be your best, bring your best, leave nothing to chance. Hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It's the only way we can build these podcasts.